Remember when a phone wasn't a tiny computer in your pocket, but a big, clunky thing that sat on the kitchen wall or lived on the nightstand? Back then, making a call felt almost like a small event, full of clicks, dials, and little quirks that made the whole experience unique. These weren't bugs. They were features, and they told the story of a different time. Today, we're looking at 10 quirky phone features from before the smartphone era, the things that made talking on the phone not just practical but a little bit magical. 1. Rotary dials. That steady whir-click sound of a rotary dial could almost put you in a trance. Each number had to be carefully turned. Then you'd wait as the dial spun back before choosing the next. It was slower than tapping a button, but it gave every call a kind of weight. Rotary phones were everywhere from the 1920s to the 1980s, but eventually lost out to push-button speed. Still, that mechanical rhythm remains one of the most nostalgic sounds of the 20th century. 2. Party lines. Before private phone lines were common, many households shared what were called party lines. That meant your neighbors could literally pick up their phone and overhear your conversation, sometimes by accident, sometimes on purpose. It created a strange mix of community and intrusion, where gossip traveled fast. Party lines were cheaper, but as privacy became more important, they faded away by the late 20th century. Looking back, they were like an early, unplugged version of social media. 3. Wall-mounted cords that stretched across the room. Every home seemed to have that one curly cord that could stretch from the kitchen wall phone clear into the living room. Over time, it would twist into tight little knots, forever tangled no matter how much you tried to straighten it out. Kids would twirl them absent-mindedly while talking to friends for hours. Cordless phones solved the problem in the 80s, but they also erased the ritual of pacing around the room with that coiled plastic tether. 4. Operator assistance. Once upon a time, you didn't just dial a number, you called the operator. A real person sitting at a switchboard would connect your line to someone else's. Operators were the unseen backbone of early telephony, and sometimes even acted as a source of local information. By the 1960s and 70s, automation made them less necessary, but their warm voices left a human touch that's now completely gone from calling. 5. Phone books and yellow pages. If you needed a number, you didn't type it into a search bar, you grabbed the phone book. These thick volumes landed on doorsteps once a year, full of everyone in town. The Yellow Pages section even doubled as a kind of shopping guide for local businesses. They were heavy, outdated the moment they were printed, and perfect for propping up a short chair leg. Today, the internet has replaced them, but the memory of flipping through those paper-thin pages still lingers. 6. Phones with built-in ashtrays and tables. In mid-century homes, the family phone was more than just a device, it was a little station. Special phone tables came with a spot for the handset, a drawer for the phone book, and yes, sometimes even an ashtray built right in. The phone wasn't portable, so the house was designed around it. Once cordless and mobile phones arrived, these little furniture pieces became relics, but they captured the era's idea of the phone as the center of household life. 7. Payphones on every corner. There was a time when a pocketful of coins meant you could call anyone, anywhere. Payphones stood in gas stations, malls, and on busy city streets, lifelines for emergencies and meetups. The sound of coins dropping into the slot was part of the ritual, and losing a quarter to a bad connection could ruin your mood for hours. Cell phones slowly pushed them aside, but the lonely few that remain today feel like time capsules from a slower world. 8. Distinctive ringtones and bell sounds. Before customizable ringtones, the phone had just one voice, the sharp, metallic bring-bring. Every house had the same sound, though some models rang louder than others. Families learned to recognize their own ring among a chorus of neighbors' phones through walls and open windows. When digital phones arrived, the classic mechanical ring disappeared, replaced by chimes and beeps. But for many, nothing says a call is coming quite like that old jangle. 9. Phones with light-up dials. In the 1950s and 60s, glow-in-the-dark phones felt downright futuristic. Some had little bulbs behind the rotary dial, making the numbers shine softly in the dark. It was both practical and a little glamorous, perfect for a midnight call. These glowing dials were eventually replaced by LED displays, but they marked a moment when phones began to flirt with style, not just function. 10. Answering machines with tiny cassettes. Before voicemail lived in the cloud, it lived on a tape. Answering machines recorded missed calls on mini cassettes you had to rewind and play back. Families often recorded silly or overly formal greetings, and nothing felt more exciting than seeing the little red light blinking when you came home. By the late 90s, digital memory took over, and those whirring little tapes became obsolete. Still, they were the first step toward the idea that phones could work even when you weren't there. Phones today can do everything but cook dinner, but sometimes it's nice to remember when they were simpler and a little quirkier. From tangled cords to glowing dials, each of these features carried its own kind of charm. If you enjoyed this trip back in time, give the video a thumbs up, share it with a friend who remembers these, and don't forget to subscribe for more nostalgic looks at the way we used to live.